Hey everybody, welcome to Midnight Update. I'm Seamus Byrne. This is Friday, the 5th of June. So that's it, the show is over. I am taking off the lanyards. It's all done. I am incredibly tired, so you're not going to get much out of me right now. I'm sure at the start of next week, I think I'll do a bit of a general wrap-up on opinions from the whole event, who I think came out on top, which games came out on top. But to wrap things up this evening, I have got for you an interview with David Cage, the creator of Heavy Rain, and we talk a little bit about the difficulties of getting the message across about such a high concept game until people can actually get a chance to see it. And then also a chat with the lead designer on one of the big buzz games of the show, which is Scribblenauts, a DS game that I think a lot of people, when they get a chance to play it, will probably buy a DS to keep playing it. So we'll take a look at both of those now. Let's have a quick chat with David Cage, the man behind Heavy Rain. And I guess for those who have been playing for a while, they might know Fahrenheit, which certainly a lot of people are quite excited since then to hear about Heavy Rain. And obviously there's been a lot of slow boil news coming out, and now we're finally seeing a lot of this product. So can you, I guess, what is your brief description of the game?
Heavy Rain is a dark thriller in the vein of movies like Seven. It's the story of four main characters whose lives are interlaced around the investigation about a serial killer called the Origami Killer, because he leaves an origami in the hand of his victims. But I think the real topic of the game is really in the tagline. It's how far you're prepared to go to save someone you love. I think Heavy Rain is also a very different type of game in matter of gameplay. It's not about shooting, driving, or solving puzzles. It's all about decision-making, moral choices, action and consequences, and see how your actions can change the way the story is told.
And I think one of the key things I found after sort of seeing your demo yesterday is that it really is the kind of game that you have to see to get the idea. You know, you're certainly creating games that are very high in concept. So how do you find that difference in the way someone sees it between when you first describe it and then when they see it?
Well, usually when we describe it, no one gets a clue what we're talking about. And we get used to it. We discovered that on Fahrenheit. On Fahrenheit, we spent so much time in interviews trying to explain, and we realized it was impossible to understand what we're talking about, because this game is really different from other games. It really relies on things that can't be explained because there's no real reference so far. So with Heavy Rain, it's a little bit less the case because people have the reference of Fahrenheit, so they have a clue what we're talking about now. But it's still very difficult to explain that each scene is unique, that there is no game mechanics, that each time you will see a new scene, you will have something else to do, because people are so used to game mechanics where you basically do the same thing through different levels. So, well, that's interesting.
And so for those who know Fahrenheit, what would be the key elements of how you feel the idea has, or your ideas have evolved since then?
Oh, Heavy Rain is much better. Internally, we talk about Fahrenheit as being the prototype of Heavy Rain. The most obvious thing is probably visuals. On Fahrenheit, it was our first console game. The game was on 3 platforms, and we really discovered the technology, etc. So the visuals were not what we wanted it to be in the end. Where with the Heavy Rain, we spent a lot of time. We are on one platform. We got the full support of Sony on a fantastic platform, which is PlayStation 3. And I think the visuals of the game are way, way better than where we were on Fahrenheit. We spent much more time on the story. Also, we worked with Hollywood script doctors really to make it the best we can. It's much more complex in a way, but I think it's much better. And also it's more consistent from the beginning to the end, which was a little bit the problem with Fahrenheit, where near the end it became difficult. So here on Heavy Rain, I can assure you that the end is just as good as the beginning.
And I've heard, I guess in the same way where you play with the idea of different endings there, that I've heard that literally there can be anything from everybody dying to everybody getting through here in this one.
Yeah, one of the real new features that brings Heavy Rain is the fact that all main characters can die. There is no game over situation in this game whatsoever. If one of your main characters dies, he dies. You don't have to replay the scene until you succeed like in most games. Just the story carries on. And I hope that player will bear with that and continue to play and won't try to go back to a save games. Maybe I'm naive about that, but just because it's a very unique story. You tell the story you want yourself. You become not only the actor, but also the writer and the director of the experience. And this is what makes your experience different and unique.
Having a chat with Matt Cox, the lead designer on Scribblenauts. There's been a lot of buzz about this game around the place, so we had to come and check it out. Tell us, I guess, what's the quick version of what seems to be quite a big game?
Scribblenauts is a puzzle action game in where you solve puzzles by thinking of any object that you can think of, and it will appear in the game for you to use.
And so this is from the same mind that brought us Drawn to Life, I believe?
That's right. Jeremiah Salaska is our creative director. He thought of Drawn to Life and Locke's Quest, also two great games, and he also thought of the idea for Scribblenauts. We've kind of had a quick little play, and you'll see a bit of that footage. But obviously, I mean, this must have been a hell of a task as the designer to put so many things. How did you go about trying to think up everything possible? I mean, we had people full-time searching through dictionaries and wikis, just constantly adding objects to our own dictionary. So as long as it's not vulgar or copyrighted, it's going into our game. So it was a full-time job for several people.
How has the reaction been to people, thinking that they're going to come up with something, I guess, clever, and then suddenly realizing it's in the game?
I mean, we read the blogs and websites, and people think that all they want to do is come to E3 and stump our dictionary. And so nobody's really been that successful. I mean, there are copyrighted things that people think that aren't, but they just can't be in our game because they're copyrighted. But after a few minutes, the great thing is people are just having fun with the game. Like, they forget about the stump the dictionary. I mean, there's tens of thousands of objects in this game, so it doesn't really matter. So they're just having a blast playing the game, so it's great.
Yeah, and tell us a bit about the kind of the game modes that are available, because obviously that's it. It's got to be a game as well. So what are the main game modes available?
There are two types of levels. There are puzzle levels and action levels. In puzzle levels, you actually have a little riddle or a hint to solve to actually get the starite to appear. Now, Maxwell, our character, wants to collect starites. Like, for instance, there's a man in a desert, and the hint says, refresh him. So you could give him, water. That's a little obvious, but some people spawn oasis, and you can drag an oasis under him, and he'll fall in the water. Hat, any type of hat would be good because it blocks the sun. Now, we also have action levels, which are just about Maxwell trying to get to the starite with obstacles or enemies or what have you. And like, there's a star in a tree. So you could either get an axe and chop down the tree. You could get a beaver. The beaver likes to chop wood, so he'll get the tree down. Or a grappling hook, or a lasso that we just tried. You just lasso the starite out of the tree. The possibilities are seemingly endless.
You mentioned also a mode is it in the puzzle version where you can then keep testing yourself and finding new options?
That's correct. There's an advanced mode. So after you beat a level once, you can go back in, and it will force you to play 3 times in a row. But each time after, it will not let you use the same object you used before. So if you write ladder the second time, it'll say, sorry, you already used ladder. Like, try something else. So it forces you to make the level new again.
And that's all for tonight's update, and for the updates from E3. We'll have a lot more to cover. I've shot a lot of interviews this week that have not made the show, so we'll be using those a lot over the coming days and weeks. And until next time, I'll be back midnight Sydney time as of next week. And for more information, you can visit midnightupdate.com.